welcome to Elevate Springfield, where we will dive into strategies and stories that help you rise to your full potential. Each episode, we'll talk about how you can take intentional steps to elevate your life and your business while making a meaningful impact on those around you. Along the way, we're going to bring in the change makers from our community that are already elevating. We'll bring the actionable strategies, you bring the discipline and follow through, and together we can elevate Springfield.
All right, let's go, Springfield. Time to level up, time to get after it, time to 10X, y'all. Hey, you are listening to Elevate Springfield. Robert Farrell here, certified 10X coach, speaker, and mentor, here to bring you actionable strategies. You bring the discipline and follow through, and together we're going to elevate Springfield. So, hey, great week. A lot of great events here recently. We had our Local First Springfield Fall Social and Annual Meeting on Thursday evening over at Jane Hay Sales and Staging. Thank you to everybody who came out that night. It was a great event. Thank you to our sponsors, Sangamon Tree Service, Clean Cut Painting and Handyman, Land of Lincoln Professional Networking Group, and LRS. Appreciate your support on making that evening a success. And big thank you to Jane Hay for hosting us in her beautiful new event space that's part of her new location. So great night. If you missed it, we've got some other events coming up. Make sure you check out the Local First Springfield Facebook page, website. We'll have all that information out there for you. If you're a Local First Springfield member, we've got a great educational event in partnership with Land of Lincoln Professional Networking Group in October. We'd love to see you out there. Check out the Facebook page as well for all the information. So, hey, today we have a great guest, Mark Forinash from Cafe Moxo. Phenomenal story from starting the business downtown to the fire and now the rebirth of Cafe Moxo over on the Central West End. So, really enjoyed helping him tell his story. Just so many nuggets throughout this entire thing for you guys, and I'm excited to bring those to you. We do want to thank our friends over at Custom Property Solutions. No matter what you need land related, whether it's land clearing, forestry mulching, site prep, hardscapes, landscapes, or anything in between, Brandon and his team are going to take care of you with precision and passion. Just give Brandon a shout, or head over to CustomPropertySolutionsLLC.com. Let's go ahead and get right to Mark after the break.
Custom Property Solutions transforms land and outdoor spaces throughout Central Illinois with precision and passion. From clearing overgrown brush to crafting stunning patios and fire pits. Need expert lawn care, excavation, or fence row clearing? They've got you covered, safely, efficiently, and on budget. Fully insured and satisfaction guaranteed. Visit CustomPropertySolutionsLLC.com today, where your land meets their passion. All right, and we are back. Joining me in the studio, Mr. Mark Forinash from Cafe Moxo. Super excited to have him here today. How you doing today, Mark?
Good. We're doing okay. You know, we're glad to be here. It's an honor, and just anybody that wants to hear our story is always great. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, we're happy to be here.
Well, let's hear it. Absolutely. So now you've done a lot of great work in Springfield. Cafe Moxo has been a staple here in Springfield now. It really is become an institution in my eyes here.
Yeah, I mean, God, that's a big word.
It is a big word, but I think
spell it.
I think it's true though.
You know, that's why we went with Moxo. It's 4 letters. It's easy. You know, when you think of what you want to do, and you think of what you want to accomplish, and you think of where you're at and where you want to go, we always wanted to be ingrained in the community. Not being from Springfield, sometimes I feel like maybe it was a little bit easier to get ingrained. Like you didn't have any maybe bad habits, or you didn't have any preconceived notions. You could just be you and do what you love to do, and hopefully that's enough that people respond to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of the approach, I think, from the get-go.
Okay. Well, then let's take a step back. Then you say you weren't originally from Springfield. Let's talk a little bit about Mark. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, no, you know what? I grew up in a small town in southern Missouri, Pilot Knob, Missouri. So I think there might have been a flashing stoplight, but there certainly wasn't much. And we grew up great. I mean, my parents, fantastic parents, and I had two brothers. I still have two brothers, I should say. So fortunate to have a family life that I had. And it really all goes back to then. It really goes back to 1975, 76, 77, the late 70s and early 80s of when I really fell in love with food.
Mm.
We didn't have any restaurants necessarily where we grew up.
I was gonna say if you didn't
And
have only had one flashing light, you probably didn't
yeah,
have
there
much.
wasn't much, and we bordered another town, so there were opportunities, I think, there. But going out to eat was more of a luxury back then. I think most of us probably grew up that way. That dining out maybe wasn't just in your everyday life. So we got to dine out. I think mostly on birthdays, and a lot of times maybe it was my love of Chinese food where I live today and Thai and how I love all the Asian foods is, you could go out to eat and order the rice for three boys. And it's a bowl this big, but there's like 35,000 pieces of rice in there. You know what
Right.
I mean? So you could feed a family on like one order of fried rice. And,
Absolutely.
going out to eat, it was always so intriguing because you show up, you order what you want, they bring it out to you, you walk away, you pay the bill, hopefully. You walk away and they clean up after you. And it's just this never ending cycle within the restaurant industry. And it was so attractive because, at home, we grew up with chores.
Mhm.
After dinner, you did
You're
dishes.
cleaning up, yeah.
You may be wiping the tables. You may be clearing off all the leftover food, and then you had the leftover food the next day. So we just grew up a little bit differently. So it was kind of nice to go out to eat and have somebody else take care of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what did you get into food, get into
Yeah.
restaurants like right after high school, during high school? What'd that look like?
It's interesting. I grew up in a small town, like I said, and you had to put on your report card what you wanted to be
Hmm?
when you grew up. And I either wanted to be a truck driver or own my own restaurant.
Oh.
The truck driver, I'm not sure where that
I was gonna
came
say
from.
those are pretty different.
It's pretty different. You wouldn't have sometimes maybe not as much of a home life if you were maybe a long road or an over the road or whatever those
Uh-huh.
guys and gals are called. But long hauls, if you're doing those, you get to eat out every meal, I guess.
Right.
So maybe that's where that
That
love
could be
came
it.
in.
Sure.
You spent a lot of time in restaurants because you weren't home very often and stuff. And restaurant owners, you spend a lot of time in a restaurant
Mhm.
and you don't get to eat all your meals at home or you don't get to spend as much time with your family at home. And so maybe that's where that love came in and fell in love with it. And a lot of it is, to be honest with you, spending that time with mom in the kitchen, whether it's mom, whether it's grandma, whether it's dad, whatever family support system that you may have. Everything in life, I feel like, happens almost in a kitchen. If you're lucky enough to have a big kitchen, and I do not have a big kitchen at my house, but if you're lucky enough to have a big kitchen, maybe with an island or a
Mhm.
kitchen table or a dine-in nook or something like that, it's where homework gets
Yeah.
done. It's where so many of the conversations happen. Look at all the parties maybe that you go to and events that you go to. Oftentimes they're surrounded by food, family, friends.
Yeah.
It's the three F's, those are the clean F words.
Yeah.
So, it's you kind of surround yourself with that. And so that's probably why I fell in love with food so much, is because it's such a ingrained part of our daily basis. I think my wife and I wake up every day and we're like, what are we having for dinner tonight? It's probably the
Sure.
conversation that happens in most households is, what are we doing for dinner? And we may not even have breakfast yet, or maybe didn't even have lunch. And we're trying to figure out that integral part of our evening of dinner and things like that, which is interesting because I don't own a dinner restaurant. But what that does allow us to do is, myself included, and our whole crew, you get to be home at night.
Mhm.
A lot of times I've often said that everything happens between like 4 and 10 p.m. And so if we're not working and we're not taking care of folks and our employees are at home with their family or their friends, or they're able to go out and have a birthday celebration.
Mhm.
Speaking of that, today is my niece Rourke's birthday. She's 15 today. And
Happy birthday to her.
yeah, happy birthday, Rourke. And we're going to get to go out to eat and celebrate her birthday tonight. And, I'm not sure we'd be able to do that if we didn't have the Cafe Moxo
Absolutely.
hours that we have. But that was really a long foray into why I fell in love with food.
No, all
I mean, you
good.
could see it's a passion of mine.
Yeah. And
Love
like
it.
you said, I mean, that kitchen,
Yeah,
it's the communal space.
it
It
is.
really is. That's where people gather and everything. So
It
it's
is, and you look at the open floor plans, and I think maybe some of those are trending backwards a little bit
mhm.
nowadays, where you're going to some more rooms and stuff. But the kitchen is still, you don't want to just have somebody stuck in the kitchen and not having conversations with everybody else. The old
Right.
galley kitchens,
Uh-huh.
you know, there's so many things that happen. And I just wanted to be a part of that. So I think as school went on and as time went on, you start to look at, you assume I grew up in the 80s and food maybe wasn't so sexy
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
as much as it is now with the advent in the Food Network,
That played a huge role in it, right?
huge role. You look at some of the leaders, and whether you agree with them all the time or not, but you look at some of the Gordon Ramsays of the worlds and the Rachel Rays of the world, and we can go on and on. But those folks really made food kind of sexy.
Mhm.
And I think flipped the switch a little bit that it became a little bit more of a respected position,
Yeah.
a little bit more of a respected job, as opposed to these people are just taking care of us. Leave a tip, don't leave a tip, whatever. They're here to work for us. And I think it's much more respected nowadays.
Completely
Um,
agree. And it almost turned into like the really good chefs are like
yeah.
celebrities now. They really are. It's
I
just
mean, signing autographs, and they
yeah.
can't even go to eat at their own
Right.
restaurants. And
Right.
whoever would have thought that you'd have a restaurant named after you that you maybe would never step in
Sure.
other than the ribbon cutting.
Right.
So I think that's really changed so much. So it goes back to, if you look at high school and you look at the early college days and things like that, you were more concerned about, okay, what is my career path going to
Mhm.
be? Who do I want to be? Who am I? Who do I want to be? So I went to college thinking that I was either going to be an accountant or a pharmacist or some sort of a business manager, and
Mhm.
let's get a marketing degree, or let's just put something on paper that gets us a job. And I started working at a bakery in South St. Louis City, a companion baking company, and a really, really well respected baking company in St. Louis. And they're still around this day and age too, and they're just knocking it out of the park. And I sold bread to primarily a Bosnian population. South St. Louis City, very ethnic, very diverse. And these folks would come up to the dock, and we would sell bread that was either overproduced, or we would make 50,000 loaves of bread, but why not make 50,100 loaves of bread? Let's just see if we can sell some.
Sure.
And I was at St. Louis College of Pharmacy at the time and working at Walgreens. And I thought, I think I want to own my own pharmacy. But I really didn't want to do a pharmacist style work. I was really
Uh-huh.
ingrained with the retail side, with the customer service side. And I'm not sure the last pharmacy that you've ever been into, but you probably haven't gone there because you wanted to be
Right.
there.
Exactly.
And you probably haven't had too many times where there wasn't maybe an insurance problem
Mhm.
or some sort of a shortage of your medication. Or this day and age, there's very little 24-hour pharmacies.
Right.
And so people get sick at all times of the day. And they're not there to take care of those folks. So it's lost a little bit of that customer service. It's very transactional. So what I really fell in love with was selling bread, pastries wasn't so transactional. It wasn't just 425. It was making somebody's meal that
Yeah.
they were going to share with five other people that day. These folks were willing to pay 7, 8, 9, $10 a loaf of bread. You look at that and you're like, holy cow, you're going to pay $9 for a loaf of bread or $6 for a pastry. But it's that love.
Yeah.
It's not just transactional. It really helped make their day, which led me to eat a lot
Sure.
and probably not be in the greatest shape. I've had to battle that over the
Oh,
years.
you look like you're in great shape.
Yeah, I'm like I don't even know, like a weeble wobble. I'll beef up and then I'll try to get myself back
Sure.
under control and
Sure.
start running again. And then I'll beef up. And so I'm hoping I'm back down to maybe getting myself in
There you
control.
go.
But it's hard to walk around and stare at those cookies
Oh,
all
I
day
bet.
long
Yeah, all
and
that great stuff you
not
have in front of
grab
you all day
one.
long.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think there's a love, there's a sexiness with food, there's a passion, and so much of our life is built around that. So why not try to take part in something like that? And why not try to help make somebody's day just a little bit brighter? There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of stress in the restaurant industry because you don't want to mess something up. And
Mhm.
I always joke, you get one lunch a day. Sometimes I eat multiple lunches a day, but most folks just get one lunch a
Sure.
day, and you don't really wanna mess it up.
Right.
It's their half hour, or it's their 45 minutes away from work, or maybe you just drop the kids off at school, or maybe you've stepped out of the house for a little bit and you just wanna grab that cup of coffee and
Mhm.
cookie, and you don't wanna screw it up. So we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, and we're not performing surgery, but we are making somebody's day at the same
Yeah,
time.
it's all about service, no doubt about it.
It is, and you don't wanna just be, how many lunches can we serve today? Or,
Right.
can we make 750 cookies today? And okay, great, that's what we made. But can we make 750 people happy? And so I think if we live by that approach, we can hopefully continue to stay in business.
No doubt about
You
it.
know,
I love that.
it's been a road. It's
Mhm.
been a crazy road. And so I moved here when I was right at 30 and thought, what? My wife was originally from Springfield. So we had a little bit of family support here. But I didn't know anybody. I knew like 16 people,
Right.
and so it was kind of spooky at the time to try to figure out, okay, I'm going to leave Missouri. I'm going to leave St. Louis and we're going to move to Illinois
Right.
where I know
And
like
build a
16
whole new
people.
network and
Give it a go.
Mhm.
And a little bit of that feeling
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit earlier about coming from Decatur, and
Mhm.
maybe you had more contacts here than what I had, or maybe you didn't, but it's spooky.
Mhm.
You have a family to think about.
Right.
And at that time it was my wife, which is still family, but the kids weren't involved or anything like that. And we didn't have our son Baker. And so I was able to just grind and just hammer it.
So when you came to Springfield, was it Moxo immediately, or did you do anything before that?
I was involved with Companion Baking Company in St. Louis, and there were multiple restaurants being opened, and there was a bakery in St. Louis, and there was a bakery in Kansas City, and it was a lot of long hours, not having a lot of days off, and then just trying to, I guess, build my portfolio and my skills to try to learn what I needed to learn so that I could do something on my own at one point. And I remember when we were going to move to Springfield and we were trying to think of names of the restaurant, and Cafe Lincoln. It's like Lincoln was all that I knew.
Yeah, yeah. Springfield's
Springfield's
Lincoln. That's what it is. Right?
Lincoln, but I mean, we are a lot more, but it boils down to we're in the land of Lincoln and we're in
Uh-huh.
the home of Lincoln. And, so that's what I knew. So it's going to be called Cafe Lincoln. So would we still be sitting here today if I would have named the
Yeah.
restaurant Cafe Lincoln? Golly, I don't know.
Right.
Probably not.
Doesn't have the
But I
same
don't
ring
know.
to it
It
as
doesn't have
Moxo.
the
It really
same
doesn't.
ring. So I went to bed and we were going to file the next day with the Secretary of State, turn in all of our paperwork, get all of our EIN number, all those goofy things you
Oh,
have to
yeah.
do
All
as
the
a
little things you
business,
got to
and
do.
websites. And,
Mhm.
we didn't really have social media handles at that point. This was pre iPhone, folks. If you think about it, the iPhone had been around since '07
Yeah,
or whatever it
07
is.
was the first
So
one
this
came
was
out. Yeah.
pre iPhone.
Mm.
Which, for a lot of the millennials and stuff are like, I didn't even know there was a world without iPhone. But there
Exactly.
was.
Yeah, whenever I talk to somebody
Uh,
younger and tell it it was only '07 when that
Yeah.
came out. They're always
Yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, and I want to go back to those Motorola StarTech
Sure,
days, the
sure.
flip phones,
Uh-huh.
with a battery life of like 30 minutes. God, I miss those days. And so went to bed, Cafe Lincoln, great. It's going to be wonderful. And woke up and Moxo just kind of popped into my head, and my wife and I talked about it. And Moxo came as a mix of two of our dogs at the time. Our son Baker was not born at that point, and we had two dogs, and that was our family. One named was Moxon, and he was kind of a boxer mix, and then we had Rambo that was a Shepherd Shar-Pei mix. And their pictures are up in the new cafe. So Moxo just popped in there, and I think it's a play a little bit. We really play up the M as my first initial of my name is Mark, and the OXOXOX and the hugs and kisses and just that family love support kind of a thing, and just care and compassion. So it all just had a ring to it. And so that's how Moxo was born. And looking back, I think I'm glad we went with Cafe Moxo
Mhm.
because we moved to a town with another restaurant with an X in the name of Soshi Moko.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
so everybody assumed we were going to be some sort of a Mexican Spanish flair because of the X. And the X has a lot more to it. I mean, let's look at your hat in
Yeah,
of itself.
absolutely. No doubt about it.
X marks the spot. So that was really a lot to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, why'd you select downtown for the
Yeah.
initial location? When a lot of places
Yeah.
go, why'd you say, "Hey, I want to do it in downtown Springfield"?
Yeah, I looked at multiple places. We did the normal north, south, east, west look,
Mhm.
and the central look of being downtown. I still consider downtown being the heart of Springfield. That will never change in my
Mhm.
mind. In Moxo, X marks the spot, and it kind of ends in the center of Springfield. And it's still the heartbeat. It's how everything flows. And What I really loved about downtown, sitting here in this building, I said it a little bit before the podcast, the character. You're looking out this window and you see the law offices across the street, and you
Hmm.
see all the architecture and just the oldness, if that's even a word. You just get a different feeling.
You do.
Um, we'll get back to the word. It's not as transactional, and it's, you know, your neighbors and you feed off of them because they're connected to you. And we're on the second floor here, but they're above you and they're below you, and you see them every day. And we had a first floor retail here downtown in our original location, and you build that community spirit around you.
Yeah.
The farmers market was outside, so we looked at a lot of places downtown, and the farmers market didn't necessarily sell the location. There wasn't even a lease sign in the building at the time.
Okay.
Um, just looked at the building and peeped in the windows and noticed there was not much going on in there, and was like, "Man, this is the feeling that we want. This is what we're gonna do." There was never a restaurant there before. There wasn't the electrical that we needed. There wasn't
Oh
the
yeah.
plumbing that we needed. There wasn't a lot of things that you needed to put a restaurant in there. But what it didn't have was a history of a restaurant. We can kind of forge forward with our
Hmm.
own identity
And that
and
has to be
not be
difficult for
compared.
restaurants, is if you go into a space that was current, that was previously a
Yeah,
spot,
it
right?
can
Yeah.
be. We happen to be housed in one right now
Right.
that has had multiple operations in there.
Hmm.
And so do you get compared to the previous operators? Do you get lost in the shuffle because maybe there was something there before, and you didn't necessarily maybe like that place potentially? So I'm not even looking at that strip mall, or I'm not even looking at that building because that used to be XYZ bakery or XYZ burger joint or whatever the case may be. So you don't get that same feeling potentially. And so going into a place that was a little bit off the beaten path, it wasn't on the square, it wasn't on Fifth Street, and it wasn't on Sixth Street where most of the pedestrian traffic happened.
Right.
It was a little bit removed down there on Adams, and we were a little bit closer to Fourth Street. So there wasn't a lot of people going that way.
Hmm.
But coming to Springfield, and kind of weird, I followed people around, and not spookily and not creepy.
Sure.
Maybe at least I didn't think it was
Didn't think it
creepy.
was at the
But
time.
I would sit on some benches, and I would walk around, and I would track how people walked and where they were coming from at different parts of the day. And I looked at how fast the traffic was going, and could you make it through one stoplight and then make it through the next stoplight without either having to slow down or come to a stop? Or could you go 35 miles an hour and make it through and not see the businesses on that particular block? And so I fell in love with that block and the speed of the street, how folks walked from the Capitol eastward, oftentimes came up Adams and not Monroe because you had a very busy train intersection. There was a lot more activity. Cars moved a lot faster on Monroe than what they ever did on Adams. And, at that point, we had a little bit more one way streets and things like that. And some of those are getting converted now. But you just got a feeling about, this is kind of, let's make this our home. And so we really fell in love with 411 East Adams, and
Absolutely.
it was a phenomenal place to get our start.
What was
For
around you
sure.
at that time? I'm trying to remember what
Yeah,
what
like
other places
nothing.
were there. There wasn't much there,
The L
right?
shelf, the books and record store was kind of next door. They had that blue awning, and unfortunately the building has since gone, but that blue awning was, it was something. I couldn't believe that it never got changed out,
Sure.
but it was what it was. And there was a printer across the street
Yep.
from us, so the Kidseum was not there.
Yep.
Where Buzzbomb currently is housed and sits, had a few different operators in there, mostly some late night operators, some bars and things like that. But apparently, way back in the day, was some sort of bakery like H&Z Bakery or something like that, like a million years ago. It was a lot of law offices. So many of our current sitting judges were there at Kavanaugh and O'Hare right next
Right.
door. I think we have 4 judges at a minimum that were basically my next door neighbors at
Uh-huh.
that point, where they were getting their law practices starting and kinda
Sure.
going in the right direction. So it was a very interesting place to get that start, and we had the farmers market out
Yeah,
front.
absolutely.
So every Wednesday and Saturday, that was happening, and so many things were happening downtown with the Taste of Springfield,
Mm.
a lot of the festivals.
And then over the years, that
Yeah.
corridor really grew and became a place that people wanted to go down to a
Yeah,
lot, right?
it really did. And I remember when we first opened, I would come outside the front door and I'd be like, "Why is nobody coming in this restaurant?
Mhm.
Why are we dead in here?" And you would look up to the square, and there were so many people moving about in the square. Feed store, Robbie's.
Right.
I mean, everything was kind of happening on the square. And I often question, is this the right move? Should we have gone on the square? Why is everybody up there and not coming in my location? And then one day I think it just clicked for me. You know what? As opposed to looking at where everybody else was going, why don't you pay attention a little bit more to the folks that are coming into your place? And
Mhm.
maybe it's only 10 people for lunch. But why don't you give those 10 people that undivided attention as opposed to worrying about why are they going in somebody else's building?
Mhm.
Why are they not spending money at your restaurant? And I think that was the day that it really clicked for me. Look, let's really celebrate what we've accomplished here. Let's celebrate the people that are getting something out of what we've accomplished here. And
Right.
let's create this culture of holy cow, we care more about who's in front of us as opposed to who's not in front of us. And that's a hard thing to get to.
Right. It is. That's what I was say. How do you do that? How do you elevate that
No.
customer client experience in there with
Yeah,
you?
I don't know because, to a certain degree, and maybe not so much, but to a certain degree, we're going through it again. We've had to kind of recreate ourselves again. So I'm
Mhm.
going back to that same old process of trying to pull deep from within of why are people coming in here and how do you make sure that you take care of the folks that are coming in here.
Mhm.
And I think when that clicked there was it was a crazy, really nice day, and it was in the middle of summer, and it wasn't a farmer's market day, and there were so many people sitting along the benches and stuff out in front of the old Capitol. And I said, you know what? I'm going to figure out how we can get them to sit in here and maybe take a lunch up there and do some things like that. And so it
Mhm.
just all turned at that point. You got to know people's names, and we still do that to this day. We still want to know who's coming in and are we making an impact on your
Yeah.
day? And as silly as it is to hand somebody a cookie, just give them something positive to happen that day.
No doubt about it. I think
It's
that
really all it
name,
took.
knowing the name, I think knowing the names is huge at a restaurant.
It
'Cause I know
really
if I
is.
go
It
in there
really
and they say, "Hey, Robert, how you doing?"
yeah.
I just feel like that's huge. It's just
Yeah,
that little thing right
it
there.
is. And, maybe we see your car pull up. There are certain people that, depending on when we're looking out the window, but we'll see their car pull up, or we'll see somebody like seven people back in line,
Mhm.
and we'll be like, hey, Susie Q's here. Why don't you guys start their salad?
Yeah.
And so by the time Susie Q gets up to the register to pay, like the chef has handed me the salad, and we're like, dang it, this is what it's all
Yeah.
about. You know what I mean? And it really is as simple as that. I think it's really maintaining a lot of eye contact. It's a lot of please and thank yous. And most importantly, I think it's just an unabashed graciousness to provide something to your day that is out of the ordinary. We just happen to do it with food. It could be done with extension cords. Maybe you make a really good extension cord.
Mm.
You can buy an extension cord anywhere, but you can't get that service anywhere. And that's really what it comes down to. I think it's surrounding yourself with people that are nicer than me, that care, and that really want to do that on a daily basis. And can they learn some things from myself or from Brandon on how you talk to customers? Absolutely. When we do hire people, I don't often care that you know how to make a sandwich. I don't care that you have a whole lot of baking experience or, wow, you're really good at running the cash register. But you know what you're really good at is you're really good at maintaining eye contact.
Mhm.
You're good at seeing familiar faces come back in. And oftentimes, a lot of our interviews aren't what you know, it's who can you find out and who can you learn from. And a lot of that is what we'll tell, I think, some of the employees is look, you may see our name signed at the bottom of the paycheck, but we're not actually the people that pay you.
Right.
We're not the people that help make your car payment. Those folks are standing on the other side of the counter for you.
Mhm.
And we take 15 cents from that transaction and we put that towards whatever bills that we have. And then we take another 8 cents and we put that towards bills that you have. And then whatever money's left, we put that towards the crew and the staff. And we try to figure out how to make sure that every employee knows that that customer is really your boss. So how do you give them that undying attention and respect?
I love that.
You know,
I love that.
it's hard. It's
Mhm.
hard because we grew up in a time where your boss controls everything about
Right.
you. They let you know your schedule. They let you know what you're supposed to wear to work. They let you know, did you do a good job? Did you do a bad job? Did you have to do a performance improvement plan or all these kinds
Mhm.
of gosh darn just stupid business things that we
Right.
have to do? You know what? Did that customer smile and appreciate your response to them or how maybe you took care of them in a certain way. We kind of giggle a little bit that our customer base has changed a little bit from downtown to our Central
Oh,
West
sure.
End
Yeah.
location. We do get the opportunity to take care of people that are a little bit of the older generation that weren't necessarily coming downtown, whether it's parking, whether it's feasibility of them being able to walk a block to your establishment or something. And I don't think we've carried as many trays in our lives as what we've carried in the last 6 months of
Sure.
being open there. And we have an employee that worked at MCL, and she recognizes so many of these folks
Oh,
that
yeah.
come in Moxo
Uh-huh.
now. MCL's right around the
Yeah,
corner
right down
from, and she recognizes so many of them, and they recognize her, and it's really, really, really fun.
That is
So
fun.
it's nice to be able to expand that customer base.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, it's been
No,
great.
love how that, like when you're hiring, yeah, you can teach somebody tasks. You can
can.
teach somebody how to bake this or that. You can teach somebody how to put together this. You can teach somebody how to run a register, but they need to have that customer service. They need to have that work ethic. They need to have that care in their heart for what they're
Yeah,
doing.
absolutely. We call it, I don't know, there's probably a really good terminology for it, but I'm kind of an idiot. We just call it the sandbox rule. Can you play nicely in the sandbox with
Right.
others without throwing it in their eyes? Let's not eat it, but if you eat it, you're only hurting yourself. But when you throw it in somebody's eyes, you're hurting somebody else. And so I know it sounds silly, but I use that analogy a lot.
I like
And
it.
a lot of employees that we're looking at and a lot of people that we're trying to surround ourselves with, I think there's two different kinds. And it sounds really weird, but I think there's firefighters and I think there's Smokey the Bears. Unfortunately, we've had the benefit of the firefighter effect, with our location and the fire that really condemned it. And the firefighters are phenomenal men and women in our society. I mean, they're the first responders. They take care of people. They save people. They help buildings. They're always there for you. But we're looking for Smokey the Bear. An employee that's Smokey the Bear will help prevent us having to call 911. They will see something that may happen, whether it's a table out of place or there's a wet floor or there's somebody's sandwich that just doesn't look great that comes through the window. And
Mhm.
as opposed to delivering it out and then having to fight that fire of a customer being upset, let's notice it before it even gets to that customer so that we can try to prevent a bad experience or maybe it isn't the bad reviews that we're scared about. Anybody can leave you a review online and some of them are a little goofy at times, but
Sure.
it's that bad experience. Oh, and those you never know about. The bad reviews you know about.
Right.
You can look at our Google reviews and who knows, we have quite a few and we have some that are pretty bad that maybe we didn't perform so well. And maybe some of them are bogus and maybe they're not, but we still pay attention to those
Mhm.
because those could have been prevented by Smokey the Bear.
Right.
We could have maybe snuffed that out prior to it being an emergency or you leaving us a bad review or you're being like, we're never coming back to this joint. That was terrible.
Yeah.
So
I love
don't
that
know.
analogy. I really love that
it's-
analogy. That's great.
It's it's can you get along with others? Can you create a culture? And then can that culture help prevent issues that are going to prolong your success in the business world? It's a long road. We hope that it's a long road, but it's a long road to get to where you really want to be and to where you feel comfortable. So can you surround yourself with those people that are going to help you get there a little bit quicker?
No doubt about it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the fire, and if you're
Yeah.
from Springfield and listen to this, you've known about the
Known
Adams
about
Street
it,
fire.
yeah.
You've heard about it. So
15th.
yeah. So
Yeah.
walk us through what happened.
Yeah, it was a great day. It was a farmer's market day. I mean, it was really, really nice outside. It was hot. So hot. But it was nice outside. I don't know all the particulars and we don't know everything maybe that happened. There was a little bit of smoke and a little bit of smell of smoke coming from a building adjoined to us. So connected by brick walls and it just never got to figure out really what was happening until the fire happened. And there were people eating inside. We were still operating. The farmer's market was still going on out front. And then just all of a sudden, this just big plume of smoke and all the fire trucks come flying in and the men and women and just about every firefighter, I think, on staff that day, almost all of them were downtown. The ones that could safely be downtown and not leave another portion of the city uncontrolled were down here and they were just going nuts. And it was 4.5 hours of just dumping just hundreds of thousands. I think it went over 1 million. I'm not exactly sure,
Mhm.
gallons of water
Wow.
on this building next door to us. I remember standing across the street at the corner of 4th and Adams and looking over there, and my wife had come down, and we're both crying, and we're looking at the building, and we're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a really long night. I mean, I was so stupid in thinking that it was just going to be a long night as opposed to a long 9 months.
Right.
I was like, "Oh, well, we're going to have a lot to clean up. And this was Wednesday. I don't know. Maybe we'll be ready to go Saturday. Who
Sure,
knows?
sure.
Just uneducated and dumb and
Well, probably.
positive
I mean, yeah,
thinking.
probably
And
just hopeful that it
yeah,
would be that, right? I
yeah,
mean,
no, absolutely. And we were just thinking, "Ah, boy, that's going to be a lot of water. It's going to be a lot of mops, and we'll get back in there and we'll get things going." And hours went on, and it's going into the evening at that point, and they're just fighting this thing like crazy. And whatever the roofs were made out of, or not made out of, or how, I have no idea. But for them, for those firefighters, not really to let it expand to our building, or halfway down the block on the north side, it certainly tore in a little bit towards the east and things like that. But most of things outside of that particular building were so much smoke and water damage, which totally rendered our building pretty useless. We lost everything. We were able to go back in the next morning, and it was a very, very short trip inside, but it was mostly to get out all the food, and not food to keep. It was food, just we got to get it out of there before it turns into a little bit of an environmental hazard.
yeah.
So the city let us go in with some support from the firefighters and the support from building and zoning, and we were able to go inside and clear out all the freezers, all the fridges. There was dumpsters out front, and we're just dumping food and containers and trying to get everything out of there that we
Mhm.
could. No equipment or anything like that. Just really, let's get the food out of there and let's get the
Right.
heck out of this building. Because at that point, the building, I think, had started to shift a little bit on
Ooh.
that most eastern wall. It was becoming a little bit top heavy. And so there were some fears of it really coming down and coming out into the street and making a lot more damage than maybe what it was. And so we didn't have much time, but we were able to get all the food out of there. And we got a couple computers out of there, a file cabinet, and then I get the dog's pictures out of there and my
Yeah.
family pictures out of there that were on the walls. And so we grabbed maybe less than 15 things, and that's it. I
Wow.
mean, we lost everything else. And we had a very usable basement there at that
Mhm.
building where we housed a lot of packaging and extra equipment, and probably a whole nother restaurant we almost could have opened
Oh,
with all
wow.
the extra
Yeah.
stuff that we had in the basement, let alone all the stuff that was upstairs on the first floor that we lost. But yeah, we lost everything. And, with the water damage, the smoke, I think there may have been some environmental issues with
Sure.
some mold
Yeah.
and some stuff like that. There was no coming back on any of that stuff. So it then starts the process of what's our coverage like? What are we going to
Yeah.
do? How are we going to pay our employees?
Yeah, I
This
mean, that has
happened
to be
on
super
Wednesday.
stressful for
So stressful. Payroll, I think, was the following Monday, so less than 5 days away. And you're trying to figure out, okay, you have a lot of food bills that are still left out there. And it was crazy. There is enough insurance money in the world, I think, to take care of all that, but we certainly weren't insured for enough. And if I think there's one thing that we learned from that, is make sure that your insurance coverage is ample to support what the current building needs are and replacement and things like that. And but we did have some insurance available, and that allowed us to regroup after a day or two and try to figure out, okay, how are we going to move forward and how are we going to
right.
take care of our employees? And we didn't want to lose any of our employees. We didn't want them necessarily going and finding other jobs. We didn't want that stress for them. So we were able to pay them. We were closed for 9 months, and they only missed a week of getting paid, but we made that money
Right.
up.
Out of a whole 9 months.
The whole night, so
Wow.
they didn't miss a paycheck.
That's phenomenal.
And so that's a really difficult thing to do
Yeah,
because
it is.
without enough insurance money, the money has to come from somewhere, and we had to come from us, and it had to come from trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to keep everybody so that their bills are paid and so that their lives become a little bit less messed up as opposed to what my wife and my family's lives were becoming at that point. So it was taking care of those that were around you. It's one of the things that I learned very early on is keep your eyes up and your head up, and really notice what's going on around you and worry a little bit less about yourself, and maybe things will work out. So that was the goal in the direction. It
Right.
never changed after 18 years of being in business there. And as I sit here today, I'm oftentimes you're always more a little bit more concerned about those that are around you as opposed to my own health or my own financial well-being or
Mhm.
whatever that may be. And so then we're like, okay, so we're gonna figure out how to pay these folks. We're gonna figure out how to help make their lives a little bit better. And then what else can we do? What can we do for the community?
Yeah.
Because we had a lot of time on our hands.
Mhm.
Brandon had been with me at that point, I think about 13 years at that point, 12 or 13, maybe 12 years at that point. So we were trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to help the community? Without the community, we were nothing anyway. We had built that business first, I guess, to a certain degree, because you have to stay in business. But at the same time, you stay in business because the community helps support you. So how do you meld those two together so that you can be in business, but that you can still take care of the
Right.
community? And
Well, I feel like you built
so
a community around that too, though.
yeah, I
So
mean, we hope, and I don't think there's any magical equation on how you do that. I've often, somebody's asked me, how do we duplicate maybe what you did here downtown, or how do we transform our business into that? And I don't know that there's any magical way to do it. You just have it or you don't, and you figure out how to work it from within as opposed to external first.
well,
You
I
know?
think that heart of service that you've alluded to and that you've talked about a lot here is a big part of that.
Yeah,
People feel that, and that service, that servant's heart, could really build that community around you. It really
Yeah,
can.
I think so. I think it's surrounding yourself with better people than what you are. Every different cog in the wheel has its own place. There's folks in the restaurant that can talk to customers a little bit better than I can. And it's very interesting. I'm more comfortable behind the counter than in front of the counter. So thank
Mhm.
God we don't do table service. I don't know. I just feel so much more comfortable with that space of the counter, knowing that that's my domain. I can really impact your day from 3.5 feet away, and it's just a different feeling that I have. And I think that's what's so neat about quick service restaurants and casual style restaurants is you can still provide that level of support without having to do it at their table, and you can still impact their day without having to do it. Not that I'm afraid to be at their table, just it's like my little security blanket, I
Right,
guess,
right.
3.5 feet away.
No, I love that though.
It's weird.
You can
It's
impact
weird.
somebody tremendously from 3.5 feet away
Yeah.
in about 3.5 minutes. As you,
Yeah,
yeah, I
and
love
it's
that.
it's you still have to be transactional, but it's still supporting them all the way through the process. So, how do you pay that back when you're closed? How do you continue to help those that maybe are a little bit less fortunate, or those that just need a little bit of uplifting spirit in their day? A lot of what we did over the years, and it wasn't just COVID, was how do you get food in people's mouths that need it?
And you did some tremendous things through
Yeah, I
through
mean,
COVID and that time too.
yeah,
Yeah, with
through the
that.
how do you there's so many people that are food insecure, and I hate using that word, but it really is true. It shouldn't be. There should be some innate things that and natural things that you just have some shelter and you have some food, and I hope you can find some love in the world by a partner or somebody around you that really supports you. And so I just wish everybody could experience that in the world. We can't do it all for you, but dang it, if we can give you a cookie or a sandwich to make your day a little bit brighter, let's make you a frickin' sandwich. Let's keep it easy. So if that's all it takes to put a smile on your face, I got you on that. So um uh, I think it was a simple thing. It was we're still going to help the community. We're closed, we're down and out, but we're not gone. And it took us 9 months. And we got paired up a little bit with Compass for Kids.
Mhm.
And there are so many children out there in the world that just don't know, are they going to have something to eat tonight? Or or they just need a little bit of brightness in their day. And so we started cooking out of some church basements and delivering food because we
Yeah.
had no equipment. We didn't have a pot to cook in, as they say.
Right.
So we had to borrow pots and we had to borrow burners and stoves and ovens, but we were still able to do what we loved,
Mhm.
which was cooking food. And we had the crew available to do it. We had to do a little bit of a shift because a lot of those things happened in the evening.
Right, right.
We're so used to coming in at 4 in the morning, not 4 in the afternoon.
Sure.
We like it when it's a little bit dark outside for whatever reason. We start early and often, and so we had to change that focus a little bit too. And we had so much support. Brown Hay and Stevens across the street from us there at Fifth and Adams. They gave us an office upstairs so that we can organize ourselves and so that we can be really close to what was happening downtown in hopes that we were still going to be able to open down there.
Yeah.
And Resource One took on some of our receiving for us and things like that. They had a lot of space in the basement and they got our mail every day.
Oh, wow.
So many individuals and so many businesses. There is a ton, and I hate to try to mention a few and not the rest of them, but we were so supported.
There's so many great people and
There
businesses in this
really
town. There
is.
really is.
And we've all gone through that ebb and flow and ups and downs. Not everybody maybe goes through what we went through, but we've all had tough days.
Mhm.
It's just relative. Your tough day is a little bit different than my tough day,
Right.
but we all have them, and so we all need that support. So we were lucky to have a little bit of that cast around us and that were lending us a hand. And so we tried to figure out, okay, let's start cooking for kids. Let's still deliver meals. Let's go around downtown and pick up some trash. Let's go out to some of the shelters and try to figure out how to better organize their workspaces. There are places that have some kitchens in town that feed the homeless population and stuff. And maybe we can help organize their refrigerators and take out trash and do some things like that. So we just
Yeah.
tried to lend ourselves to everybody that we could, and we tried to make some good out of it. And at the same time, look, you do try to keep your name out there a little bit.
Sure.
9 months is a long time
It
to
is
be
a long time.
closed.
Yeah.
Your day is a really long time
Mhm.
to be closed. You lose a lot of your namesake when you're closed for 9 months. And, we kept looking around downtown. Okay, can we go in this building?
Mm.
Can we operate out of this building? Should we look at the square? Should we look at this building? And just nothing really popped off. Nothing made as much sense to where we needed to go. So we had to start looking outside of downtown. And we ultimately landed on our location there at the corner of Isles and Chatham.
Mhm. Great location.
It
Yeah.
really is. It's got a lot of natural light, a ton of windows. It obviously has parking and it's free. And it has, I think, ample parking and the accessibility of getting in the building and
Right.
things like that. And you're at this major intersection of Isles and Chatham Road, and Chatham Road is such a north-south road that people use to stay off of maybe Route 4 or MacArthur or something
Mhm.
like that. It's a very busy road, and we're surrounded by some phenomenal businesses around us. And there wasn't anybody doing what we're doing in that little area.
Right.
I don't know if it's a golden triangle or a driver triangle or a golf analogy. Is it a par three? Because we're so close. We're within a par three of Azteca, which does some phenomenal style cooking in their lane. And you have Sapori, which is right behind us, and they're killing it. And they're such a go-to place. Sunny China folks are absolutely phenomenal. You have the Office Sports Bar,
Uh-huh.
and then you have Papa Murphy's in our block, and you have Corkscrew. I mean, so you have all these kind of really cool, and there's other businesses. I hate to leave them out, but you have this really neat culinary mecca right there.
Yeah, right
Where
there.
you could be like, "Do you want Chinese food tonight? God, I just got to go to Isles and Chatham. Do you want tacos? Do you want to get that street taco thing that Lopez does over there?"
Sure.
Yeah, and that's what I always get there. And for whatever reason, that mushroom one is my favorite one. But Nico, he does, it's just phenomenal. Do you want an amazing pie? Do you want a fantastic pizza? I mean, Sapori's right there. Do you want to take one home? Shoot, you got Papa.
Yep,
I mean, you have
right.
everything covered. Do you want hamburgers and tater tots?
Right.
I ate the heck out of those while we were
Sure.
building that location at the office. So we're so fortunate to have those businesses around us. And really, you can cover everything you want to eat right there and drink.
Love it.
So,
Love it.
yeah.
Hadn't really thought about that, but that's absolutely true.
It
No doubt
really
about
is. And if you look at some other locations, and we don't need to name drop necessarily or anything here, but you look at some of the other strip malls or some of the other corner spots, and is everything covered and can you get everything there? And I think there's really neat pockets around. There wasn't anybody necessarily doing a coffee bar. There wasn't anybody handling the early morning breakfast crowd. There's a lot of rooftops there. Jerome is right across the street. Leland Grove is our neighbor. Springfield to one side, Leland Grove to another, and Jerome. And so you have all these municipalities, and everything's really close there. And so I think it just made sense for us.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
really loved it. Yeah.
So with the new location, you haven't been there. How long you been there now? Not
Yeah,
too long.
6 months.
6 months. Yeah. So any big changes from the old location to the new location in terms of
Yeah.
menu and the whole thing?
Probably 150 years of
Yeah.
building changes.
Right.
We don't have the brick walls.
Sure.
But what we do have, there's a lot of natural light.
Mhm.
But downtown, we were kind of long and skinny. So we had two basically 20 by 100 buildings that we had kind of connected. And our kitchen was about 275 square feet, way small. And I think for us to do the business that we did out of 275 square feet still boggles my mind a
Right.
little
Pretty
bit.
phenomenal.
But sometimes you can have too much square footage.
Yeah.
And it makes it more difficult too. But at the same time, I pay attention to I think a lot of other restaurants, and most of the restaurants I think are outside of Springfield because I just don't think you steal from your home.
Sure.
You get ideas and you get passions and you get cultures, and I think you try to do that from outside of Springfield. You look at McDonald's and you look at some of those places, and they really have their kitchens outfitted in such a way that they can operate out of a really small footprint. And I think that's what we were able to mirror a little bit in downtown. But then when we moved out west, I mean, we went from 275 square feet to about 1450.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On each side of the building, there's kitchens.
Huge in comparison.
I mean, crazy in comparison. And so it allowed our crew to spread out a little bit and probably breathe. And there wasn't as many elbows flying and maybe not as many black eyes as we got downtown. But it really allowed them a much more comfortable workplace. As simple as it is AC and things like that, you can usually heat and cool some of these newer buildings a little bit easier than some of the older buildings.
Of course.
And we have two walls of just windows. Downtown had all this character and all this intrigue, but it could get dark sometimes. We had basically 4 windows in each building, and 20 by 100 square foot building, and 4 windows is not a lot of natural light coming in.
Right.
So we had to do other things to kind of doctor that up. But out there, we can live off the sunlight. We see some amazing sunrises there in the morning.
You do have great natural sun coming in there.
We really do. So that changes everybody's demeanor too. I think you can get a little bit more positive. Anytime it's sun shining, which it is today, you're probably smiling a little bit more,
No doubt about it. Yeah.
So it's great. There's a lot more wind. Holy cow. Our tables from the south side, I don't know how many umbrellas that we've lost in 6 months, but we lost some freaking umbrellas. But so we'll learn that. There's never enough to do what we really want to do there. It's just going to take us time. But I think the business is just going to evolve. And hopefully we can go after some of the business models and some of the catering and some of those things that we weren't able to maybe do downtown. But with that location out there too, it lends itself to a lot of events that we could do at night.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. That'd be a
we
great
did a lot
event.
of parties at night downtown. But this really, I think, we can probably impact those a little bit more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
The previous restaurant there, Three Twigs, we used to do, mentioned to you before we went on here that we homeschool our kids. We do homeschool events and everything, and we do dances and all this stuff. But one thing we always did at Three Twigs in the evenings was we'd have like a game night, homeschool game night, where we'd bring them in and, buy some food and everything from there and have the place to ourselves. It was always phenomenal. But so, yeah, that's a great space to do some things like that.
Yeah. We were able to create. I mean, speaking of Three Twigs, they had a really neat area back there with some playhouses and some kitchens. And I know there were a lot of moms and dads that could come in and the kids could go and play. And you could maybe sit down and have a cup of coffee and relax a little bit. We changed it a little bit. We went after a little bit more meeting space and things like that. And that's really changed some of the folks that are coming in, where you can have a meeting for 20, 24 people and shut the door. And if maybe you want to dance, so there's blinds that you could shut, but it's glassed in. So maybe, I think there's some things like that I think we'll be able to do over time. But we really are kind of trying to reinvent ourselves a little bit. We still have the Cafe Moxo name. We still have the passion and the love, but it's a new location and the clientele's a little bit different. And it's not better and it's not worse. It's just different. We're trying to reinvent ourselves. We were in business over 18 years downtown. We've only been in business 6 months here, but we still have to change some things. And I think if the business operated the way that I thought it was going to operate 19 years ago, I'd be bankrupt. I'd be
Mhm.
out of business. I'd be a dummy. It would have been bad luck. I think listening to the customers and listening to your crew and what they think may work better,
Yeah,
man, that's a way to do it.
no
Like,
doubt about
I
it.
don't have that many good ideas up here. Like I said, I don't even know what I'm going to serve for dinner tonight. So, how am I going to run a business successfully? I have no idea, but we're trying.
No doubt about it. No, I'll
Yeah.
tell you that meeting space that you're talking about, I think that could be really big for you. I mean, we
Yeah.
had a local first committee meeting there a few weeks back. I mean, it's a great space for that. No doubt
Yeah, it
about it.
is. And we had a review. Speaking of reviews, it's funny. We had a review come in that lunch can get a little out of hand there, meaning that it can get a little bit loud.
Okay.
And so that was one of our negatives downtown at the same time was it can be loud in here. And there are things that you can do to control and damper some of those things, whether you want to put tapestries around or you want to put some sound deafening things around and
Sure.
absorption things around and stuff like that. But I gotta be honest with you, we like that
It gives it
hustle.
life.
We do. We don't pipe in noise, but we certainly don't take it out. We want that bustling feel. We want that you want that amperage in your heartbeat a little bit. If I just wanted to beat really slowly per minute, man, I want that
Yeah,
restaurant
let's go.
popping.
Get it.
Let's have some fun. I think everybody's lighter on their feet and they're smiling. They're like, this is a place that you want to be.
Mhm.
So we're trying to recreate that a little bit there. And could we quiet it down a little bit? We could, but we're not going
Not
to.
gonna do it.
We're
Let's
not gonna
go.
do it.
I mean, especially for lunchtime time.
Yeah.
You could see maybe at dinner time if you're wanting to a little more low key meal but
Right.
lunchtime, let's go. People,
Right.
come on, let's have some
Right.
life in
And
here.
you know what? It's really fun. The comments have been that it can be a little loud, but it is a fun place to be, and that's what we're looking for. Just get away from your everyday grind.
Love it.
So
So we've talked a lot about business. Let's touch
yeah,
on some personal stuff.
yeah.
What are some ways you elevate your life personally?
God, elevating my life. I like that. I like that transition. Um, I got to be honest with you. I feel like I don't feel too different. I think I elevate my life personally just by surrounding myself with great people. My wife, she's the best thing in the world. It's not always great. Let's not kid ourselves. Marriage is hard work, but it's not that hard to work when I got married to her. It really is fun, and she's very supportive. And I have a fantastic son. His name is Baker. We went after the bakery term a little bit. We
Sure,
went
sure.
after the culinary side a little bit. His middle name is Rue. And then
There you
if you know
go.
anything
Oh yeah,
about
I
the
do.
old
Yep.
mother sauce
I
of
see where you're
Rue,
getting there. Yep.
so we had a little bit of fun with that, but golly, he's a great kid. He goes to school right around the corner from work, and he's able to ride his bike to school every day from the house and come in and have breakfast in the morning. And I think I try to get involved in the community a little bit. I think that elevates everything. Whether it's your church or whether it's your friend group or whether it's business groups and associations, the people that you surround yourself, being able to bounce off that it's a great thing.
And I'll tell you, I mean, anytime somebody says your name, one of the first things they always mention is community driven. You do so much for the community.
We
You really
try.
do.
We try, and I think starting out. Look, we're starting out again. We're at ground zero again, but we can still help with the community. I took a call on the way here. Somebody looking for some things for a school, and they're having a tough time with budgets matching up and things like that. And we're just trying to help their budget match up and donate some food and make some kids happy. I think getting involved in the community, whether you're doing things that your business can do, or if you're doing things that you can do personally, I think gravitating toward other like-minded individuals, I think is an easy thing as long as you open up your eyes for that. One of the things that I'm pretty proud about is I think I'm on the board of Sangamon CEO and impacting those seniors' lives. And those are people, I go back to this community thing a little bit because the youth, I mean, God love every age group that we have in Springfield, but the youth is going to be the future
Yeah.
of Springfield. And I am so sick and tired of our youth educating themselves here with either public or private schools and or homeschooling.
Mm.
and then they go and they get educated potentially outside of Springfield. We have a great education network here. They go and get educated again outside of Springfield, and they're like, I'm not moving back
Not
to
coming back.
Springfield.
Yeah.
I'm like a really bright, shining star, but I'm going to go and burn out in some other
Right.
town. I'm going to move to Denver or Chicago or San Francisco or St. Louis or wherever.
Yeah. I'm going to go crush it out there instead of right here. Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, come back. Bring that bright, shining star back to Springfield. Bangaman CEO, I'm not sure that's 100% what our focus is, but it should be. It should be a lot of percent of what everybody's focus
No doubt
is.
about it. Yeah.
The organizations that can bring back some of these individuals to offer internships to, or look, you can come and have a really good life in Springfield. You drive 5 to 10 minutes and you're on one side of the town or the other. That's a stretch because traffic sometimes. and Don't
Right.
get me started.
But
on
close enough.
stoplights in Springfield.
Right.
Let's call it 10, 15 minutes. You can be on either side of town in that amount of time. You can visit a business, you can visit a family, you can visit a friend, you can go to church, you can go and throw axes, you can do whatever, shields, whatever it is. You could do it in 15 minutes of your life here. Coming from St. Louis, where you may spend 45 minutes just driving to
Right,
someplace
just on
for
the road, yeah.
dinner, you're an hour and a half in. To and from dinner potentially. And so looking at a place that's 15 minutes, how much more of your life can you get back that you're not stuck in rush
Right.
hour traffic? I used to spend maybe 45, 50 minutes getting 10 and a half miles in St. Louis. And so that hour and a half of your day is gone. What can you be doing that's more fun than that?
can do an
Maybe
awful
stopping
lot.
in at Moxo, having a cup of coffee.
Yep, no doubt about it.
You know, maybe coming downtown and just walking around and being like, holy cow, I didn't know that business existed. I'm
Yeah.
going to go in there and spend 25 bucks on a shirt that I didn't know that I needed, but God, I love this business or something like that.
Mhm.
But that's one of the really cool things I think about downtown is every time you walk around down here or even drive around down here, there's something new to look at. There's a new business popping up. There's an old business that you forgot about. But there's so many fun things that you notice when you're walking and not driving.
Yep.
Because when you're driving, your eyes should be on the road. But
That's
when
right.
you're walking, you're like, this is
Uh-huh.
great, you know? I think bring back some of that. I bring back that youth that's going to help propel government. We can go on all day about how you think
Yeah.
the city is run. That's neither here nor there, and I have no thoughts on it too much anyway. But come back and impact your community. Get involved in your government. Get involved in friends groups. Open a business.
Mhm.
Make somebody else's day happy.
Yeah.
It's the future, and God love all of our age groups here in Springfield.
We do
And
have to get that group back
we're-
because
we're
I've talked a lot.
involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've talked a lot
Yeah.
with Ryan McCready from the Growth
Yeah.
Alliance about that. I mean
Yeah.
that age group, we really got to make sure we're doing everything we can to one, keep them here, but
Right.
then two, like you said, get them back. If they go to school elsewhere, come back home.
Yeah,
come back
and
home.
You know, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that move back because they have to,
Mhm.
whether it's financial reasons or whether it's family and health reasons or something like that. They don't necessarily choose all the time when they come back. But when you do choose to come back, you're all in.
Right.
You know what I mean? If I was coming back here just because I got a really good job offer because I had a family member that was maybe not doing so well or something like that, you're like, I got to move back to Springfield. You know what? It's a great community. If
Right.
you just look around and give people a chance, it's a really, really, really good community. So come back home. If you want to go and get educated and you want to go to whatever, UMKC, or you want to go to Mizzou or anywhere and you want to do your education there, I get it.
Mhm.
But UIS is a great school.
It
Lincoln
is.
Land is a great school.
Mhm.
You can do so much here. But if you want to go and get that education, fine. Go and do it. Come back.
Come on back.
Come back and make our city better.
Let's go.
You know, we need more.
No doubt about it. Well, Mark, we've had so many phenomenal things today. I always
Yeah.
like to close with these last couple. So let's give the audience one more piece of advice, one from the personal side, one from the professional side, to help folks elevate their life or business.
Man, the personal side, I think, is just it's family and friends. It's family first in my book. I'm such a homebody. How can you make yourself lucky enough to have a family that you don't want to miss time with at any point of the day? I don't want to go out and do a lot of things at
Mhm.
night. I want to be at home and throwing the baseball around or watching a show with my wife or helping put out decorations for the house or whatever the case may be. But just family and family first. And I think a lot of things could grow from that.
No doubt about it. And then professionally?
Professional, I think it's just trying to figure out professionally how can you have great people around you that are like-minded, and how can you impact somebody else's day? It doesn't have to be in food. I mean, you could work for an office, you could do a lot of things, but how can you do one thing a day that makes somebody else's day better?
Mm-hmm.
We're fortunate because the widgets that we sell are edible. They are food and they go straight to your heart.
Right.
You know what I mean? And not everybody has that. Maybe you work in an office building or something like that, and the things that you sell just aren't sexy. You could figure out a way to make them sexy.
Yeah.
You could lower somebody's bill. You could make their car easier to drive. You could fix their radio. You could repair their AC system. I mean, we can go on and on and on. But if you do it with a smile and a compassion and just realize that everything in this world really is retail driven, whether or not you're in a commercial setting or not, you still have customer service to take care of. So take your time and pay attention to that other person, either on the other side of your desk, the other side of your phone, or the other side of your counter, and just make their day a little bit better.
No doubt about it. I think that can go a long way to
Yeah.
elevating all of us here in Springfield.
I think we
and
all
the-
need a lot of elevation. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? You have to figure out a way to not only make your day a little bit better, but how do you lift up somebody else's day?
Mhm.
It can be done with a very simple thank you, or holding the door, or giving them an extra cookie, or changing their oil for free. But just make it better.
No doubt about it. Well, Mark, I appreciate you coming
Yeah,
in and
thank
sharing
you.
your
Thank you
story
for
with
having
us.
me. Thank you.
Absolutely.
It's been an honor.
Give the audience where they can go find you, all the places.
Yeah, all the places. So cafemoxo.com. I'm still a website guy. We have the socials out there. They happen to all be Cafe Moxo, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, or I got to be honest with you, I haven't checked my Twitter in
Sure.
probably 10 years. But it's out there. Tweet something, whatever it is that you do. You can find us at 2661 Chatham Road at the corner of Isles and Chatham. But most importantly, just come in and say hi. I don't give a crap if you buy anything or not. Just stop in and say hi. Try to see what we've done with the building. Try to see what we're done with the people that we work with, and that we
Mhm.
get the joy of employing every single day, because I promise you they will make your day better.
Let's go. Well, yeah. Well, thank you for coming in today. Thank
Yeah.
you for catering an event I had not too long ago. Had
Absolutely.
rave reviews on the food, by the way.
Did you? That place out there, the pole bar. I don't know if it's a hidden secret. I
Right.
don't know, but it is kind of as a little bit of a secret. So maybe not everybody should find out about it, but I think probably you should try to find out
Pretty
about
sweet
it. So
space out there, right?
really, really is, and it can do so many more things. I mean, it can be professional, it can be personal,
Mhm.
it can be everything. So it's a really, really neat location.
No doubt about it. Well, on behalf of Springfield, we are excited to have Cafe Moxo back in the
Thank
fold
you.
here, back going.
We're glad
So,
to be open.
all right. Well, we're gonna let Mark get back to elevating Springfield, but for the rest of y'all, we'll be right back. Looking for personalized insurance with hometown care? David Hilst, American Family Insurance Agents, here to help you protect what matters most: your family, your home, and your dreams. Whether it's auto, home, life, business, David and his team are proud to serve the Springfield community with trusted advice and reliable coverage. Local service, real relationships, peace of mind. Call today or stop by their office. They can build your dream protection plan together. Call 217-726-6343. All right. How about Mark, right? Phenomenal stuff. What a great story. So many things that he talked about fall right in line with what we talk about in 10. One of the main themes of the day was service. We talk about that a lot on the show. Having that heart of service, that customer service, how he is wanting his employees to make their customers' day, to be able to do one thing a day to make somebody else's day better. I don't know how many times we talked about how important that is, just as a business owner, as an employee, and just also as a human, to be able to do those little things every single day. Hey, to make somebody smile, to make somebody's day, just a little bit easier, to provide exceptional customer service. From the little things like remembering somebody's name when they come through the door, to seeing them pull up and having their salad or coffee ready, like he talked about for those regulars, right? So I'm going to keep on saying it. What are you doing right now as a business and an individual to be able to make somebody's day, to be able to provide exceptional customer service, to make yourself unique by your actions? Mark and his team are certainly making themselves unique by their actions. During that 9-month closure, they didn't have to be doing all that extra work that they were doing, helping out the community, but they did because that's the type of people that they are. And that's why they built such a strong community around them, because people want to help people. People want to support people that help and support others. And it is evident in their daily lives, in their daily work dealings, that is what they do. They support and help the community, and the community wants to help and support them. One of the really great stories that he talked about was he talked about how there's two types of people when he's looking for employees. There's the firefighters, and then there's the Smokey the Bears, right? He said, of course, they've had some experience with the firefighters, but what they're looking for as employees is Smokey the Bears, to where they can see the issue coming before it actually happens, and they snuff it out before it becomes an actual issue, right? So they see something wrong on the plate before it is given to the customer. That way, the customer still has a great experience, because if they wouldn't have snuffed that out beforehand, if they wouldn't have found that and prevented the fire, there certainly could have been a bad review, a bad experience. Just like Mark said, he said, we'll know about the ones that leave a review, but the ones that don't leave a review but have a bad experience, you never really know that. And then maybe they never come back because they had one bad experience. So they want the Smokey the Bears to be able to prevent the fire instead of having the firefighters have to deal with an issue or deal with the fire that could have been prevented in the first place. We talk a lot in 10X about amateur versus professional. And this is one of the biggest things that differentiates a professional from an amateur in any industry, in any field. That ability to see around the corner, to prevent issues before they happen, to be able to put out fires before they become fires, to prevent the fire in the first place, to see what's coming down the pike because of the experience and all the action you've taken in the past and everything you've seen creates this level of professionalism to where you know what's going to happen before it happens. And those are the kind of people that Mark wants in his establishment. And that's the type of people that we should all strive to be. We should strive to be more like Smokey the Bear instead of the firefighter, because preventing issues is going to be much more beneficial to you than having to, even if you create a positive result out of the issue, it would have been much better if you didn't have the issue in the first place. Another thing he mentioned a few times and that we talk about extensively is having great people around you, having people around you that are smarter than you, that are better than you, that are pushing you. He talked about hiring people that maybe they're better with customers than he is. He wants people around him that will push to make everyone better, because he said he doesn't have all the ideas. Nobody has all the ideas. So we need to have the right people around us to be able to succeed, to be able to reach our goals, and to be able to see things that we might not otherwise see. So, hey, really enjoyed my time with Mark today. If you haven't been out to the new location, go check them out. Like I mentioned in the interview, that he catered an event for me a couple of weeks ago, and really phenomenal job. Did a great job for both breakfast and lunch for us, and a lot of great reviews from the attendees on the food that day. So if you haven't checked his new spot out, go ahead and check that out over on Chatham Road, Chatham and Isles. Be right back with more after the break.
Looking for expert tree care with hometown integrity? Look no further than Sangamon Tree Service. They're your trusted local pros, delivering quality workmanship, exceptional customer service, and fair, honest pricing. every time. Whether it's trimming, removal, or storm cleanup, their team brings professionalism and care to every job, big or small. Call the name your neighbors trust, Sangamon Tree Service, or visit them today at sangamontreeservice.com. Sangamon Tree Service, rooted in quality, built on trust.
Well, thank you for joining us today, everybody. Appreciate you making us a part of your day. Hey, while you're out on all your social channels, check us out at Robert Farrell, at everywhere. Check out those Elevate Springfield pages as well. If you're out on YouTube, check out my channel at Robert Farrell. Great place to see all the clips from the show in one convenient location. While you're there, give us a subscribe. We would certainly appreciate it. Thank you to Mark for spending some time with us. Phenomenal story. I know y'all got a lot out of what he was talking about. So many nuggets sprinkled throughout his entire story. On behalf of Springfield, I know we love having Cafe Moxo back. They were certainly missed during those 9 months that they were closed down. So, hey, take what you learned today. You bring the discipline and follow through. And together, that's right, y'all, we're going to elevate Springfield.
Big dog, if you're doing some remodeling or redesign and build, come and see our showroom. No one does it like we will. Call Big Dog, Big Dog. Let us do it once, and then you're gonna see you'll wanna be a part of the Big Dog family. Call Big Dog, Big Dog. If you want the job done and you want it done right, call 8332 Big Dog.
Your local Window Depot USA.
Big Dog.